make it holy.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for your help.
Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, hu yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. Oh, say shalom, shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, hu yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. There's a rabbi. Yes! Sweet!
Woohoo!
Yeah!
We ready
Rabbi
to pray?
in plaid. Awesome. Awesome.
How are we doing this morning?
We're excellent.
I only heard the cantor. How are we doing this morning?
Well, two things.
Good.
Yes!
We're doing great. I love it.
Let's
Good.
hear it.
Come on in, have a seat. Maybe in the back of this section right here. Make sure there are 2 seats between everybody. 2 open seats and skip a row. Thank you. Everybody have prayer books? Your teacher's going to get them. We'll be with you in a second.
Awesome. Well, on this lovely Sunday morning, it's nice and beautiful and sunny outside.
Rabbi, can you see the windows up there? Aren't they gorgeous?
Yeah. We've got the stained glass up at the top. For those of you who are in your classrooms, if you can't see it, maybe you'll check it out when you're able to get into the sanctuary. If you can see way up high, the stained glass looks really pretty. It's the 10 Commandments, and the light is streaming in, and it looks really beautiful. We are going to go ahead on this beautiful Sunday morning to start with an opening song. Miss Wendy and Cantor Perper, what song will we be starting with today?
I was going to make you guess. We're going to do a Hine Matov that we haven't done in a long time. But I'm going to ask everybody to repeat after me. E-O-O. E-O-O-O.
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 E-O-O.
E-O-O. E-O-O-O. E-O-O-O.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. How great it is for brothers and sisters to hang out on this day. E-O-O.
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 E-O-O-O.
E-O-O.
E-O-O-O.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. How great it is for brothers and sisters to hang out on this lovely day. How great it is for brothers and sisters to hang out on this day. E-O-O.
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 E-O-O-O.
E-O-O-O. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Last time. E-O-O.
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 E-O-O-O.
E-O-O.
E-O-O.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Very nice. We would love to hear your voices singing along with us this morning. We are going to stretch up real big and tall and stand up out of our seats for the Baruch Hu, our call to worship on page 2.
Lie, la, 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 la. Come on, y'all. Lie, la, 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 lie. Lie, 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 la, 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 lie. Lie, 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 la, lie, 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 lie. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach, hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Hamevorach, hamevorach le'olam va'ed.
We'll take a moment now to think about how God is one. This is the watchword of our faith, and we talk about how God is our God and God is one. Are there any ways that you know that God is one?
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
We will find our seats again for the Ve'ahavta. We are on page. Are we doing Miss Wendy's Ve'ahavta? Yeah, we're on page 3.
You shall love the Lord your God with all your soul and with all of your might. Hold on tight as you go, teach them what you know. Teach them as they grow. Teach them so they know. Teach them so they know.
And we'll continue with the Micha Mocha, singing about our freedom as the Israelites crossed from Egypt across the sea into freedom. We're on page 3.
Who's like you, Micha Mocha? Who's like you, Adonai? Who's like you, Micha Mocha? Who's like you? Let's hear from everybody. Who's like you, Micha Mocha? Who's like you, Adonai? Who's like you, Micha Mocha? Who's like you? One more time now. Who's like you, Micha Mocha? Who's like you, Adonai? Who's like you, Micha Mocha? Who's like you?
Nice. And we have reached the high point of our service, tefillah. So we will stand as a community. We'll stand up nice and tall and strong on page 4.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah.
And you may be seated. We will take a second now for some silent prayer for the words that are in your hearts.
Shalom, Imromav, Uya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imru, Amen. Oh, please join me. Oseh Shalom, Imromav, Uya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imru, Amen. Shalom, Bimromav, Uya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Ve'imru, Amen, Amen, Ve'imru, Amen.
And we're going to continue with the Misha Beirach. This is our prayer asking God for healing of body, of mind, and of soul, for all those in our lives that we're thinking of that could use a little bit of refuah shlema, a complete healing. If there's anyone you're thinking of who could use an extra prayer for healing, feel free to say their names as my eyes meet yours. We'll continue with Misha Beirach on page 5.
Misha Beirach Avotenu, Mekor HaBracha Le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us to find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us all say, Amen. Misha Beirach Imotenu, Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us all say, Amen. Is this a minor story or a major story? I'm not sure. Do you know even?
Usually major.
Major.
Yeah. Boker Tov, everyone.
Nice.
Oh, that was pretty good for the first time. Awesome. It is great to see so many of you in here, and hi to everyone in your classrooms. I know next week you'll get to be in here. We'll all switch. So hopefully every other week at this point we can all be in the sanctuary. And really, I hope soon we can all be in here together.
Amen.
I want you to close your eyes for a second and think about your dream from last night. If you can't remember your dream, that's okay. But try and think about all the details. Think about if there were other people in your dream, or if you went somewhere, if you saw something specific. I'm not going to ask you to share, but raise your hand if you remember something really specific from your dream. Yeah, I got a few hands in here. Sometimes it's hard to remember our dreams, but I want to tell you the story about a man who had a really powerful dream. A dream that stuck with him so much he couldn't forget it. So this was a man, and he and his wife lived in a small house. They lived out in the countryside on a hill. In their house, just a few rooms, and it had a bright red door, and right outside they had a big apple tree. And this man had a dream, and in his dream he woke up in his house. He went from his house and he went walking, and he walked really, really far. And he walked over the 3 large hills that he could see from his home. And when he got to the end of those 3 hills, there was a huge forest. And if he looked to his left and looked to his right, as far as he could see was this forest. There was no way around it. And so in his dream, he walked into the forest. And he walked for what felt like hours until he came out on the other side of the forest. And when he got to the end of the forest, in front of him, he saw a river. And it was a wide river. You couldn't just walk through it. And off to the right, there was a bridge, the only bridge. And in his dream, he walked to this bridge. But instead of going over the bridge, when he got there, he walked down the side of it and went under the bridge. And under the bridge, there in the dirt, there was a big letter X right there on the dirt. And what do you think in his dream he did when he found a letter X in the dirt? Shout it out. He dug. Yeah, and he dug in the dirt, and he kept digging until finally in his dream he found a treasure. And as soon as he found that treasure, he woke up. And he looked around, and he realized he was still in his house. He hadn't gone anywhere. The dream felt so real. Like he could even smell the forest and the river when he got there. And he just chalked it up to it was a dream. And it was all it was a dream. But a few days later, he had the same dream where he went out and walked over the 3 hills just outside his home. And after the hills, he got to the forest that went to the left and to the right as far as he could see. So he walked through that forest for what felt like hours. And when he came to the other side, he got to the river. And off to the right, when he got to the river, was the bridge. And instead of going over the bridge, he went to the side. Underneath the bridge, he found the X. He started digging. He found the same treasure. And then immediately he woke up again. And this dream started coming night after night after night. And it started being he was afraid to go to sleep because he was going to have this dream again. And it would keep him awake. And he always woke up when he got to the treasure. And it always felt so, so real. And finally, he told his wife about this dream. And she said, maybe you should go to this place and see what you find there. And maybe you'll stop having the dreams once you see there's nothing there. So the man, the next day, woke up early in the morning, and he left from his small house next to the apple tree, his house with the red door, and he went out hiking over those 3 hills in front of his house. And when he got to the end of those hills, he found the forest, just like in his dream. And he looked to the left, and trees as far as he could see. And he looked to the right, and there were trees as far as he could see, so he went hiking right into the forest like he planned, just like his dream. And after what felt like hours, he came to the other side of the forest. And he had never been to the other side of the forest, but he saw, just like in his dream, the river stretching right in front of him. And he took a deep breath, and he looked over to the right and couldn't believe there was that bridge, just like in his dream. And he walked over to the bridge. He was astonished that this place really existed. And instead of going over the bridge, he walked down the hill to the riverbank underneath the bridge. And he got right to the spot where in his dream he saw the X. But instead of an X, there was a person sitting there. And the person said, he asked the man, who are you? What are you doing here? And the man said, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. It's crazy. There's no way you'd believe my story. And the man said, try me. Tell me your story. And so the man who had left from his house told the story of his dream, that for days and days he had been dreaming about going to this place and coming to this exact spot, and that he would find a treasure there. And the dream was keeping him up so much he could never get past the dream that he just had to go check out that spot. But when he got there, instead of finding a treasure, he found this other man. He said, I found you. And so the second man who had been sitting under the bridge says, that doesn't sound crazy to me at all. I've been having a dream too. Let me tell you about it. I've been dreaming that, I come and I sit under this spot all the time because that's where my dream begins. And that in my dream, I walk up the riverbank to the bottom of the bridge, but instead of going over the bridge, I walk through this forest that goes as far as I can see. And it feels like I walk through this forest for hours. And when I get to the other side of the forest, there's a bunch of hills. And I walk over 3 of those hills until I come to a small house with a red door and an apple tree. And when I get there, I walk right around the apple tree behind it, and there's an X right behind that apple tree. And I start digging and find a treasure right there. But it's just a crazy dream, just like yours. It's just a dream. Well, this first man realized what this other dream was about and recognized where the other dream would take him. So he said, thank you so much for your time. It was good to talk to you. And he rushed back. He rushed back up the riverbank, through the forest, over the 3 hills, back to his home as fast as he could go. And he went inside and he found his shovel. And he went out to the apple tree, right behind the apple tree, just as the other man had described, and started digging. And after a few minutes of digging, nope, that wasn't a good sound. He hit something. And he started scraping it away. And he found there, buried underneath the apple tree, right behind the apple tree, was a treasure just like he had dreamt in his dream. And there was enough riches and valuables in there to take care of the man and his wife for a long, long time as they raised a family and they grew their home and helped others and gave tzedakah. And they found the treasure that they were looking for right at home the whole time. And I love this story because it always reminds me that we can have these visions, we can have these dreams of amazing treasures and beautiful things in far-off places, but sometimes all we have to do is look right in our backyard or right in our home, and we can find those amazing, beautiful things wherever we look. So I hope today when you go home, look around your house. Maybe don't dig, it's a little cold, and I don't know if your parents would like you digging, but look around your house, find something that could be a treasure, something valuable that you might not have seen for a while, and see what you can make of it, and see how you can enjoy it right there from your own home. Boker Tov.
That's a good story. Like that one? That's good.
That was a really great story. Let's see how we can make the most of our time in our homes and here at religious school this morning. And I'm wondering if there are any birthdays. Has anyone had a birthday in the last week? No birthdays? You had a birthday? Okay, if you had a birthday in the last week, I would love if you would come up to open the ark for Elenu. We'll go ahead and stand up together for Aleinu on page 6.
Nice, yeah. Come on down. He doesn't need any help. Look at it. He doesn't. I know how to do it. Melanie, help him. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula le'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kimishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam kalkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Thank you.
Okay, everybody can take a seat. And we're about to turn to the Mourners Kaddish, our prayer for those who are no longer with us. And this is a prayer that even though they're not with us physically, these people, we can feel them with us in our hearts, and we think about them often. And right now, our Congregation Shalom community is thinking of these people who have passed in the last week: Linda Goldstein, Pamela Lynn Reese, Maxine Orenstein, Debbie Pozlowski, and Sandra Winnick. And during the period of Shloshim, Sherry Burson, Dr. Stanley Kenwood, Gilbert Offenhartz, Doreen Salzberg, Marcia Bubbles Shumo, Bernie Sokol, Mindy Spitz, and Frida Fritzy Suker. If there are loved ones that you're thinking of and you'd like to say their names, please feel free to say them as my eyes meet yours, or in your classroom, say them out loud. We'll stand together for Kaddish Yatom, the Mourners Kaddish, on page 7. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba, ve'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon uvyomachon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar v'yit aleh v'yit halal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Ta'amiran ve'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'imromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing, and together we say, Amen. And are there any announcements? It looks like Brian's going to give us some announcements.
You can take a seat. Just really quick announcements. First, next week is our last Sunday before winter break. So please come next Sunday so we can wrap up our fall semester together. And then I'm going to out myself and say something unpopular, but please don't yell back at me now. You can find me later. But go Bears tonight. Don't say anything now. You can find me later. And do we have a quick closing song?
Well, we're going to try to be quick, and I'm going to try to...
Just one more reminder that we don't have...
Correct. There is not youth choir today. There's youth choir next week. There's not youth choir today.
Going back to your story. So raise your hands up high for all the world to see. Everyone stand up, oh yeah, for trees. These lovely trees standing before us, planted by someone a long time ago. Someone with hope, a hope for tomorrow, with a dream of the future right here in this tree. So raise your hands up high for all the world to see. Everyone stand up, oh yeah, for trees.
Thank you, Miss Wendy. Boker Tov, everyone. Have a great rest of your morning.